Hey, it's Kevin with Magcast and the Magcast Minute. The purpose of this video series is to help you learn how to publish a magazine. In this video, we're going to be talking about the question of if a magazine is a right vehicle for you. Is magazine publishing right for you and your goals? So the first question we're going to ask in looking at this is your content evergreen? Is your content wide and deep? Is your content easily micro-niched? And as for the niche, is your niche one that's full of passionate geeks and enthusiasts? Is it easy to spend thousands of dollars within the niche? And last and not least, is the niche one that's transactional? So let's dive into each of these and flesh out some of these concepts. So first, the notion of, is your content evergreen? If your content is evergreen, it's a good thing, because what we're looking for is content that's just as important today as it was years ago. And that's also going to be equally as important years from now, so that we're not constantly chasing ourselves and constantly looking for something that's going to be the new. Evergreen content are things like changing a tire. You know what? The way that we changed a tire 50 years ago is the same basic concept of how you change a tire today. The real question, though, is if you, as a newbie into the auto enthusiast niche, have never changed a tire before, you're just looking for, gosh, how do I do this? That content that's still years and years old is still as valuable now as it was then. So that's the idea behind evergreen content. Evergreen content is good. We're trying to avoid the newsy, and we're trying to avoid chasing things that are constantly going to be going away just as quickly as they come in. You know what? Washington Post, New York Times, all those types of periodicals and newspapers, things like that, they've got that covered. Let's focus on things where we've got evergreen content. Next thing we want to look for is places where the content isn't just wide, but where it's also deep. What I mean by that is, let's look at the idea of automotive. So in automotive, you've got all these different types of cars and motorcycles and RVs, and it's wide. And then even as you go down and down and down into a specific niche, let's say you want to look at Porsche, just inside that of the Porsche brand, there are new cars and older cars and classic cars and maintenance. So whether you're going wide within that particular thing or you're going deep and you're just exploring, okay, let's look at replacement brakes, replacement engines for this particular model of Porsche, whatever it may be, you've got the ability to leverage all kinds of different content within the niche. And you've got the ability to get pretty much at the snap of your fingers, you've got the ability to get more content. It's also something that a novice can dive in and start having fun as they look to grow their mastery of the particular topic. So I'll give you the flip side of that. The flip side of that, let's say, is nuclear engineering. Okay, somebody that's diving into this is probably not going to be picking up a magazine and going, oh gosh, how do I get started in this? Because it's not easily accessible. Whereas you look at a niche like photography or calligraphy or automotive maintenance and mechanics, any of those types of things are generally accessible for the novice. And even for somebody that's been inside the calligraphy space or photography for years and years, it's still fun to go and re-expose yourself to things that you already know. And you go, oh yeah, I haven't used that technique in years. I've forgotten all about whatever it may be. So we're looking for wide, we're looking for deep. Number 3, the passionate geek question. Let's just ask people getting into your topic, even as novices, do they run the risk of looking a little crazy because they're so enthusiastic about the topic? If so, that's a great sign. By the same token, if it's not something that's a hobbyist, if it's something where there are live events, professional associations, trade shows, those kinds of things put on by companies, put on by geeks, whatever, catering to the enthusiasts and the professionals within that particular subject matter, topic, whatever it may be. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for passion from geeks, from professionals. We want there to be this intersection of readily available, accessible, like-minded people who are going, oh my gosh, it's a magazine about, and they're super enthusiastic just because somebody is finally talking to them in a professional way from a professional media source, and not just happening across in a blog that they had not yet read. Let's go look at the second part of this, which is the niching and micro niching. So the idea here is sort of in the same notion as the wide and deep idea. But can we find so much depth and breadth in your content that there are even subgroups of enthusiasts within that topic who really only care about that particular subtopic? So let me give you an idea here. Travel. Travel is such a massive, massive niche that it sort of doesn't really mean anything. And it certainly doesn't make sense from the standpoint of an indie magazine publisher to try to compete in that space. There's just too much there. So what about travelers who are only backpackers in Europe? Now, somebody who's picking up that magazine, who's looking at this for the first time and going, this is a magazine that's just for Australian expats in Europe. That's exactly who I am. I've got to check this out. Because now it's something that's so focused in, it's lasered in on the particular interests and needs of that reader. By the same token, let's go back to the idea of cars. So obviously, Porsche brand been around for decades. All right, a general Porsche magazine, though, trying to compete. Yes, that's niching on the automotive niche, which is great. We'll take general automotive topic, and we're going to go down a little bit into, let's say, not just German cars, but Porsche. But let's go a step further. Is it possible to just say, target the vintage enthusiast? But not just the vintage Porsche enthusiast, but the vintage Model 911 enthusiast. So as we get further and further into specificity with the readers with whom we're going to be communicating, it generally gives us more and more ability to make people go, oh, this is the magazine for me, and to engage with that magazine as opposed to it being just another German car magazine. Next question is the ability to spend thousands of dollars within the topic. Can somebody brand new rock up into the niche and go, yeah, and they get out their credit card, they get out their cash, they go into the local camera store, the local comic book shop, they buy things online, be it through some major retailer like an Amazon or Walmart, or through a specialty store that caters just to that particular affinity group. That's what we're looking for also, is does this group of passionate geeks have the ability within the niche? Are there places for them to spend a lot of money? That's not necessarily saying that we want them to spend thousands of dollars within your publication. But the question is, does that exist within your niche? So let's just say, look back at travel for a second here. Travel obviously has the ability for somebody to go crazy and spend a ton of money in it. Now, if you're looking, let's say, at just publishing to expat travelers in Europe, okay, so certainly that person has already spent some coin to get there. But now, what other things could they need? Well, maybe they need a new backpack. Maybe they need some new shoes or a new hat. Whatever it may be, there are all these different ways to, through advertising, through stories, through whatever it may be in the publication, to communicate with this person that says you're in the right place, and to also make a good relationship possible between the reader and your advertiser, or readers and stories, whatever it may be within your publication. Last question of 6 is the idea of, is your niche transactional? This is generally a really bad thing when it comes especially to trying to publish an indie magazine. So the idea of transactional businesses, be it a service, a product, whatever, is they're things where it's basically problem solution. So somebody is right now, they're looking for their bleeding neck to be fixed. That's it. They're looking for their poison ivy treatment. They want the itching to stop. They want antivirus software to protect their family or to get rid of an infection they already have. They want health insurance because they know they have to have it, and they just want to get that problem solved. Those are the types of businesses and topics that generally do poorly, and you want to try to avoid inside the magazine publishing space. So if you think about this, just from the perspective of evergreen content, wide and deep, passionate geeks and so forth, nobody's really particularly passionate about antivirus software in the consumer world. And even if they are passionate about it because that's their business, or they have a review site or something, even still, how much is that person really going to be able to learn as a consumer coming into this magazine that's just about antivirus software? There's just not that much depth and breadth in the content. And you can't really spend a ton of money there on an ongoing basis. Same thing for poison ivy treatment. You buy the poison ivy treatment, you get it off the shelf, great, you apply it, hopefully your itch goes away, you're done. You're not going to be repeatedly going back to a magazine that's published 4, 6, 12 times a year, going back to it, going, oh gosh, what do I do to learn more about poison ivy treatment when the itch is already gone? Same thing for things like health insurance. Okay, enormous billion-dollar industry, but I don't know anybody, I'll bet you don't know either. I don't know anybody that is even remotely passionate about their health insurance plan. You just want it to work when you want it to work. It's dreadful choosing one to begin with. You just want to get it done. Those are things, by and large, we want to avoid. We want to move towards the evergreen content, things like that. What makes an ideal niche? Super simple. You want something where you've got evergreen content in plentiful supply on specific or even very specific topics, droves of raving fans and enthusiasts who spend big bucks immersing themselves within it. These are the things that make a good magazine, and that tend to be areas where indie magazines can go and thrive. All right, so hopefully the last few minutes here have given you some real insight into how you should pick your niche and whether or not your subject matter are apropos to build an entire magazine brand around. Kevin with Magcast Minute. We'll see you next time.